Okay, so this is a 2019 CRF 450L. This is a stock CRF 450L seat. And this is a 2x4. The biggest difference between the stock seat and said 2x4 is one is red, one is not. Other than that, they're pretty much the same thing. In fact, you can build your house out of this, so I actually might almost prefer this over the seat because this is pretty much useless. Okay, so let's step back a little bit here. When Honda brought out the CRF 450L, this is obviously based on their CRF motocross lineup, and in fact now in 2021 going forward, this is called the CRF RL. And pretty much all of these models receive the same seat. So this is the same seat that's on the CRF 450R motocross bike, the X, etc. Honda just is using the same part across the board. Now, is this seat bad? No, it's really not that bad for its intended purpose. This is a great seat for the CRF 450R. What makes it good is it's pretty narrow in here. And if you're riding a bike and you're tilting a bike like that and you're leaning through corners and you're doing everything, it's got the grip all the way around the sides. And as you come down, the sides are angled. And so if you're riding a motocross bike aggressively, as you've got the bike leaned into corners, this part actually becomes your new flat part of the seat. You should be sliding over on the bike as you ride on it. And so as you're tilting that bike around, the seat is cut down to not get in your way and work. It's a good product. But what happens when you're stuck on the road forever? What happens when you're going for a ride on a street legal bike? Well, the skinny foam on here and this hard foam is miserable. I mean, everybody knows that on here. So knowing that this seat really wasn't that great for on-road riding, I, amongst my brother-in-law Dan, his bike's here behind me, we wanted to go with the Seat Concepts seat. But when you go on Seat Concepts website, there's a lot of different options on here. Now, I've seen a lot of people do what's called the Comfort XL seat. Rocky Mountain ATV did a video on it, and a lot of people have featured that on there. But what I was worried about, if you've been following this channel, is I do a lot of mixed use riding, including the motocross track. So I've gone through some rolling whoops that are aggressive enough that when I'm leaning all the way back, I'm getting hit in the back of the bike. And so I was worried about the width of the Comfort seat sticking out too far. So instead of ordering the Comfort XL, I just ordered the standard Comfort seat. However, the difference between our two bikes, I got the tall seat and my brother-in-law got the Comfort seat in a standard height. I've never owned a tall seat before, and so I wanted to kind of try out with this bike how that would work. So the biggest difference between the tall seat on here is on his seat, he's got more of the natural kind of curve in right here at the bottom, whereas my seat comes across, it's pretty flat through here. And that's really where you're kind of gaining a lot of height. Now, granted, if you also look back here at the fender, my seat is a little thicker as well back here. So you can see the height difference on here for them. But one of the things I wasn't sure about was, one, would having a tall seat give you more foam for on the road over time? But again, I had never rode a tall seat before. I'm 6'3", so I think I classify as tall compared to your standard motocrosser. And so I wanted to give this a shot, never done it before. The other part we didn't know, or I didn't know, was did I want to do the kit where you keep your stock seat pan and you replace the foam and cover? Or do you want to spend the more money and get a separate seat that comes on its own? And obviously on here, because I still have this, I made the choice to get one that comes with its own so that I can swap it back and forth. My original thought was, what if I don't like this for aggressive off-road riding? What if for the motocross track, I want to go and have this seat back? I wanted to be able to change them. Well, I can tell you right now, after riding it in all situations, I'm pretty much done with this seat. Now that I've actually experienced this seat on all types of riding, this is by far my preferred way to go for all functions. Okay, so on this seat with the Comfort seat, if you're sliding forward on the gas tank, the width is the same as stock. So this right now just feels like a more comfortable CRF 450R seat because the foam that Seat Concepts uses is supposed to be their proprietary foam. However, back here, right about here is where it starts to get wider. So when I'm finding myself on the road, right about here where the width starts to spread, this is my favorite seat on the, or this is my favorite spot on the road. But when I first got this seat, I actually felt like it was a little stiffer than I thought it would be. So I've now put 300 plus miles on this seat. So I will tell you, in that time, this seat actually has broken in as well. When I first sat in this position, I felt like I was being pushed up against the seat a little bit, where now the longer I've done it, it has kind of broken in and gotten a little softer. And the material, I think, as they pull it, it's pretty tight. Well, now that material has just loosened that up that little bit to kind of flow with it. As I get a little bit longer on the road, sometimes I'll sit back to vary my position, so I'm almost near the end of the seat. But what I have found, because of the way the seat contours, there is just this one little spot somewhere in the middle about right here that I don't like, only because I feel like the taper's coming up and kind of pushing my thighs in a weird spot. And that's just a personal preference based on my body size. So I think sometimes for just totally on-road, right here is where I would have been happier if I would have had the Comfort XL, because there just would have been a little bit more support coming out. So I think for this seating position, I would have almost preferred the taper to come down versus coming up. But again, overall, this is normally where I find myself on the road for long stretches of time. And I'm perfectly happy sitting right here. Now also, as you start to go into your off-road riding, as you tilt the bike, it's not as grippy as a stock seat, but as long as you're keeping your legs about right here, I don't feel the contour of the seat at all. So at this point right here, I can't tell that I have a seat that's wider in the back than a stock seat. And so that still gives me quite a bit of movement front to back on the seat, and still retaining full agility for off-road riding. So on my seat, I kind of went with just the standard, I don't remember the name, I'll put it on the screen, because with my seat, I went with just the standard options. I wanted the red and black, and I wanted some texture grip to it. I didn't want the seat smooth, I wanted it textured. My brother-in-law, I actually like his top part more. It's actually called asphalt, and I feel like this matches the texture of the stock seat better, and it's a little more grippy. And then on the side of his seat, he went with the carbon fiber, I believe is what they labeled it as. That's what it's mirroring on here. Now that I've got the miles on the seat and the time, I will tell you this is completely worth it, and you should do it for the bike. But again, the biggest problem is what type of riding are you doing? If you're spending most of your time on fire roads and on pavement, I would probably tell most people, get the Comfort XL seat. If you're spending in mixed use, I think the standard Comfort's great. Now, if you were doing a lot of single track riding, if you're doing more competition racing, they make a seat, it's called the Elements. Same seat foam in there, but it doesn't have the wider contour in the back. And I would say that would probably be a way to go over stock as well. I just really don't see a reason, if you can afford it, to stick with the stock seat unless you're just really track riding. And if all you're doing is track riding, why'd you get the L? I mean, that's kind of where you're coming out at, so. And so my brother-in-law too, he did the same thing as far as he kept the stock seat just in case he wanted it, but after using it, he doesn't put the stock seat back on since getting the bike. And he's kind of with me. It kind of does the all functions on here. And again, if we were to tone down and not ever go to the motocross track with the kids, and if we were to tone down some of the aggression, same thing. He would have done the Comfort XL as well. But with mixed use riding, we're happy with this. So if you've been thinking about picking up the seat, hopefully this was helpful for you. Again, the only thing I would have done different, even though I didn't see it on the drop down options on the website, I wish I had the asphalt gripper on top. So I probably would have just personally picked up the phone and called Seat Concepts and tried ordering it that way. I'm sure they would have let me. It's just when I ordered the tall seat, that was not an option for me on the website when I ordered it. But otherwise, I'm 100% happy with it. So if you guys have any questions, be sure to throw them in the comments below. I'll answer them for you. But otherwise, yeah, go get the seat. It's totally worth it. All right, thanks for watching.